All right, so let's try how does that look like. It's very similar to how you have it in Java, except for a few syntax differences. So in Java, we use extends to define the, to specify the inheritance, right? Now here we use the colon, okay? In Java, you would call the keyword super in order to refer to the parent, either to call the constructor or to refer to anything defined in the constructor, right? The word super. Now here we have the keyword base to replace that. And if you need to call the parent constructor, you call it in the same line as the definition of the child constructor after the colon. Okay, so if you needed to do something like this in Java, you would have the keyword super called in the first line in the constructor, right? Which is just slightly different. Now, in order to have a polymorphism, in order to have a method override the definition inherited from the parent, you would need to put the keyword virtual with the overriding method and the keyword override in there, and the overriding method. Yes. When we what? Yeah. Yeah, you have to put it on. Okay, that this is the call from the parent. All right, now when you define the manager itself, you define it like with a constructor normally. Now you can have access to everything that is inherited from the parent. You can also have the access to the new definition. Okay, inside the overriding method, you can still have access to the definition if you use the keyword base. Now in Java, if you do that, you use the keyword base. It's exactly the same concept. Okay. So let's try this out really quickly. So let me add a file here for the class manager. Okay, so I need to click on the project itself and then add from there new item. So I'm gonna add manager class. All right. And now I want to say that this is a child of employee. So how do I do that? Yes.
So orders of class, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, it will hide it, not override it. So the other one, it's kind of like, yeah. All right, so now I want to make manager a child of employee. How do I do that? So I type what? Colon. Okay. And then the name of the parent. Okay. Now, remember the default constructor? There's a concept called default constructor, right? If the default constructor doesn't have any parameters, right? So if I didn't define this constructor in employee that takes the parameters, I wouldn't get this error because the default constructor of the manager would call the default constructor of employee. But if I have that a constructor that is not parameterless like this, so the default constructor is not, the parameterless constructor is not consistent. Okay, so I will have to define a constructor for the manager. Okay, that takes the values that I need to send to the parent in addition to whatever is needed for the manager itself. So I can keep it like this. And then just say that this calls base and then send the name and salary to the constructor of the parent. All right. And then of course I have to define a function here. I mean the body. But the manager actually has something special. It's not just the name and salary, it also has a bonus, which is double. Okay, so it also needs to be initialized, but I don't want to send it to the construct to the parent. Okay, the parent doesn't know anything about bonus. Okay, and then I just initialize here. Now I want to override the calculation of the net salary of the manager is not the same as the calculation. I mean, it is similar, but it just adds the bonus to it. So I still want to access the same code I defined in the parent. Okay. So I want to define a new version of the calc net salary. Now you see all the suggestions are all out of not suitable at all. Okay. That also takes the just gonna create a okay, so it takes same set of parameters here. But I want to change the calculation. Let me say return 0 for now to avoid this error, and then now I can do all the calculation here in this parent, in this code here. So I can repeat this line, but we want to avoid duplication, right? So if this code already exists and we don't want to duplicate it, I mean, most of the time we wouldn't want to duplicate it unless we expect them to diverge. So obviously here we're not expecting them to diverge. So we don't want to duplicate the code. We want to reuse the same function as it is defined in the parent. Okay, so in that case, I can access it using the base keyword, net salary, and we can send it the exempt and the tax rate as we receive it in the child, in the parent, I mean, yeah, in the child. Okay, and then we just add the bonus to it. Okay, and that's what we need to return. So I'm just gonna replace this return. Now see, there's this line there. There's obviously a message that we need to read, right? See this this line underneath. Okay, so let's see, what does it mean? What does it say? It says manager calcs net salary hides inherited member. Okay, now in order to avoid mistakenly hiding something, you have to explicitly say I do want to hide the original definition. Okay, and that's using the new keyword. I can put the new keyword like this, which is not what we want to do. Okay, what we want to do is to override it. So depending on the type of the object, so we want this one to be accessible as well. So I will need to use the virtual keyword here to say that this method might be overridden, and then the override here to say that this, when the object is manager, I want to use this definition. Okay, but when the object is not manager, you can use the old definition. Okay, now let's see. Let's see how, so if we want to call the manager, now obviously I can define a manager M equal new manager, and let's say we call manager Bob. So let's say salary 5,000 and bonus 1,000. Okay, so now I can say M dot net calculate salary. Also, dot right and m dot calc net salary false. And let's make the calculation easy. Okay, so let's calculation 10.1. Okay, so let's just make it easier. Okay, so we have 1,000 and just 500 as the bonus. Okay, so the net salary calculation would be 900, right? And then plus the bonus, so the total we should expect it to print what? 1,400, right? So let's see. Okay, so that's the calculation as defined in the child, in the manager. Okay, the calculation as defined in the parent, it would have been only 900, right? Okay, so I guess that's all we can cover today. We have still some important concepts which you probably already familiar with, but I just wanted to refresh your memory. We can talk about them next time. All right, so that's all what we have today.